Hey guys, Ryu here with another critique. This one was sent by Andrew Market, so thanks for sending it, mate. And this is a really cool render, I really like it. But there's one essential thing missing, and we're gonna be talking about it, right? Just one thing before we start, guys. Critiques like this one are a normal thing on Patreon. One of the perks, one of many perks for tier 2 and 3. So if you're into that kind of thing, have a look at our Patreon, link in the video description. So first of all, let's look at the render, and it's really cool. It's menacing, it just screams fear. It looks alien. It looks, the red color, it just puts you on edge. The darkness in the end is, the mood is really cool, right? The whole idea is pretty awesome, I think, right? But there's, like I said, one element missing, and we're gonna be talking about it later. But let's look at the blend file. And this is a classic example of smoke and mirrors, okay? Which is basically what 3D is all about. It's all about illusion, right? So we got these cables on the top, and we got this bit here. I presume it's been arrayed. There you go. So let's wait a bit. It's a lot of geo. It's about 8 million here on total, right? So if you're gonna go to the camera, right, this is what we are seeing through the camera, which is very cool. Now if I remove the cables, right, and turn the cycles, you'll see the difference, right? So let me just collapse this thing here. There we go. Just make more space so you can see. So you see, without the cables, right, a lighting is a little bit boring because it's, it's in our face. But when I add the cables on, right, now the drama becomes real, because there are a few things happening, right? One thing is that the light gets scattered, and you got these, chaotic god rays fighting, one another, which is great. In addition to all this, everything becomes darker, right? Because the light is obscured. Okay, not this one, this one. Light becomes obscured by the cables, right? So it's actually hidden. And 3, the ceiling drops down and giving you this feeling of claustrophobia. And also because there are so many cables, it just doesn't feel, man-made. It just feels alien because, we don't build things like this, right? So this is really cool. And I was thinking about details on sides. I mean, there's a lot of detail, and of course it's way too much detail, but in this case it's actually working, because it's not a detail that it's specific. It's just kind of like it seems as if these were not, elements that actually have specific function, but it looks as if it was created by some kind of a different species. It literally looks alien, right? So we can't tell whether, it's functional or not, and that's why it's actually working in here. So this is one of very few situations when I think overload details, would work. And I think the reason why it works is because it's chaotic. It's not mirrored. It's random, and I'm not sure how he's done it. I think he just was literally slicing the hell out of this thing with box cutter, just going crazy and coming up with a random pattern. But like I said, in this case actually works. Also, because the light is in the back of a tunnel, right, it shines towards the camera, and it's really at a steep angle, so all these bumps, right, gonna get picked up, and all the crevices and all the bumps, and the shadow is gonna be really harsh, and it's gonna create additional drama and contrast. There's a lot of AO in these crevices, a lot of contrast between the highlights and the concave areas, which really sells the image, right? So this is like proper horror, image, and it looks fantastic after rendering. Also, I think this camera angle is a bit lower than this one, and it works even better because it makes this corridor look more scary because it makes you smaller, if that makes sense. Because the camera drops down, we think that this is our level of view, meaning it gives you the idea of how big this thing is, right? If I was actually, if this was actually shot from this angle, well, you're taller than the corridor, so it's kind of like an overview look, so it's impersonal, if you know what I mean, right? When this camera drops down, right, the moment the camera drops down, you're in a zone, you're in the level, like you're in there in this corridor, and it's like, holy shit, now something's gonna jump and eat me, right? So that's pretty cool. I think personally that this light could be a little bit darker because it pulls a lot of attention. So maybe darker or maybe higher so it actually beams through, okay? But that's just, a tiny detail. I think it's a little bit too, and also could be possibly less white. Maybe slightly on the reddish side, slightly. But so it just would blend a bit better, right? Because it's kind of like a ray of hope, and you don't want hope in this mess, right? You just want total gloom and disaster and the end of everything, right? Because it's really menacing. Now the Geo is an absolute pig, okay? But the cool thing about it is that you cannot see this. I mean, Geo, if I show you the Geo, you're gonna have a heart attack, right? So let me just turn off these cables and go to render view. And let me just turn off this. I think we have a shading on. Hang on. Yeah, listen, man. Don't use shadows, because look what happens to the viewport without shadows. Like, look what happens to viewport with shadows. And I'm on a like 1090, 10900K clock to over 5 gigahertz, 64, RAM, and 2080 Ti, and it just doesn't matter what system you're using. It's just gonna be garbage, right? So turn it off and boom. See what I mean? So Bethesda fucking Blender fixed this shit. Every time I think about something being garbage, I think about Bethesda. It's just fucking. Anyway, so it was funny. Freudian slip. Anyway, look at this Geo, man. It's an absolute fucking pig, right? And the reason for it is, I think Andrew, what it did is triangulated the mesh before bringing it to the texturing software. I don't know what would be the other reason for doing this. Okay, so let me just turn off this rate thing, because there's just no need for this, right? There we go. Okay, so let's look at this corridor here, right? So you can see what happens, right? I mean, it's just a disaster, right? It's a complete fucking disaster. But the cool thing about it is that you can't see all these shading issues, right? I mean, you can see that it's just a mess, right? The Geo is an absolute mess, but you can't see it. And so the whole point here is that it's actually okay. And why is it okay? It's okay because it's a concept design, right? It's not a piece that it's supposed to be working in game, because there's no fucking way that you can put all these details in game, right? They should all be bakes, but they're not. So this is a concept design, and for concept designs you can do whatever the hell you want, because it doesn't matter. As long as it looks fine in the render, you're good. It's all smoke and mirrors. So this is fine. You can't see any issues in here, right? And that's great. So this is a really cool concept art. Now, I told you in the beginning, right, that there's something missing in here, right? And what's missing is something at the end of this tunnel, the payoff, okay? When you create a piece like this in, for example, photography, and you shoot some image of a tunnel or something or like a path in the park or whatever, and there is no payoff to all these leading lines, because the leading lines are very powerful and they're just massive, massive 5 actually, right, leading lines in here. And these are it's like so many of them, right? The major leading lines, the minor leading lines, just everything leads to this corridor. Vanishing point is very simple, because you can easily determine where the vanishing point is. The horizon is very well defined. So we need something there, and what I would put there is a barely visible menacing silhouette of some monster, okay? So let's see if actually Pixel Squid has something on this one, right? Pixel Squid is a fantastic plugin I've been using for ages. They featured my work several times. Even had an interview with them recently. I'm not selling this software. I don't get anything for promoting them. I just like the plugin. So if you're into compositing of your renders in Photoshop, this is probably the best way to go about it. So now let's try to find a monster. Okay, how about alien? I think this should do. Yeah, this should do, right? So I'm gonna add it to Photoshop Lightbox, and it should refresh here. There we go. And we're gonna add it to the scene. Okay, so now let's rotate it. Maybe like this. You need to match the perspective. This is perfect, right? You need to match the perspective, and we also need to match the size of it. So we need to put it somewhere here, so it fits the corridor, but it's actually really big, right? So something at the end of the tunnel. You need to remember that the tunnel here disappears in darkness, so we need to place it accordingly. Yeah, this would do. In fact, you know, we could actually rotate it a little bit. Come on. A bit like this, maybe. So it kind of looks at us. Maybe frontal. So we see these claws kind of like on sides. Yeah, that's pretty scary. Alright, so let's do this. In fact, you know what? This kind of S shape is menacing in my opinion. It looks more scary. It's a shame though, because I would wish this claw would be visible. But it's cool. So we got this monster. Now we need to sort of make sure that it fits the environment. Alright guys, so what we need to do is match this more or less with the background. I'm not gonna be doing a fantastic job here because it's not the point of the tutorial, but I mean this video, but I am just gonna, whoops, not this one, make him dark and just, you know, color him red or something. And we need to make him darker, so not the corridor, just the monster. Come on, there we go. Make him darker and, you know, sort of remove this saturation from the equation. Right, something like that. And we need to reduce this dark color. And we're gonna drop the opacity basically on this guy, right? So, you know, see what I mean? Something like this. And we need some light behind him, of course. So what we're gonna do is grab the brush. It would be better to be. It would be better to do it inside of Blender, but you know, just drop a light behind him. And in fact, you know what? We could just drop a red light like this, and just slight glow behind him, but really tiny glow, right? So it's just separated from the background. And or we could drop a really bright one behind him, like here somewhere, right? Let me see this. Let's drop some crazy red glow behind him. Maybe that's too dark, something like this. Reduce the opacity a little bit. Just a tiny bit, yeah, so it kind of separates him from this darkness. See what I mean? Come on. There you go. Maybe he's still even too big. Maybe we need to make him a bit smaller and put him further away. something like that. Yeah, you see what I mean? So, you know, it's just something there that's really scary, right? And emphasizes the scariness of this corridor. Then you could grab a brush and run highlights on this guy with linear dodge or color dodge. Color dodge could actually work. And just highlight these areas here, see what I mean? So, literally just highlight certain areas here. So this silhouette is sort of in the claws and this one and this one, you know. And maybe add some glowing eyes. 2 glowing eyes. Let's do that. It's gonna be fun. So let's grab this red color and change it to a linear dodge and insert literally 2 eyes, maximum flow, 2 dots. There you go, and 2 more, and change it to soft light, and then let's zoom out, and then let's make it a little bit less pronounced, so they're kind of menacing in the background. See what I mean? So something that is gonna make you think, holy fuck, I shouldn't keep going, right? I should just get the hell out of here. And you can drop the opacity on this whole thing, boom, right? See what I mean? So something that just glooms in the darkness, you know, and something lurking behind there. You can just make it even smaller, but I think it kind of looks awesome like this. You know, it looks like a boss in a game or something, you know. And you're about to aggro the boss and start the fight. Because without the payoff, you know, if I grab all these and put them in a group, without a payoff, it's just, there's nothing there, you know. It doesn't have to be a monster. It could be, for example, I don't know, a silhouette of a doorway or some device or, you know, anything really. But just something, right? I think this glowing light behind him is a little bit too strong, so I'm just gonna drop it down a bit more. Just a tiny glow. Something like that, right? And there you go. Now, bevels would not work in this situation because of the geo, right? The geo being an absolute piglet. However, you could try using the new plugin from Chip Walters called Bevel, and I think this could be done with this software. So the only problem here is that the geometry is so complex, and it's a one piece of geo that I don't really think how would you fit all these elements into even an 8K normal map and have it, you know, have it beveled. Also, another thing is that you don't really need these bits on the bottom, so you could actually get rid of this, right? You could just get rid of all these bits on the bottom, just simply slice it off. So you don't have to worry about this unnecessary geo. Probably could shave a few mils by doing that. All right, well, that's it for this video, guys. Awesome work, man. I really like this render. So it's a really cool concept art, yeah, of some kind of a sci-fi corridor. And like I said, the details, it's a detail overload, but it actually works in here because it just looks like a, you know, some kind of an alien greeble on walls, some crazy, you know, corridor in the depth of some city or some massive ship or some kind of a structure. So it kind of works, especially with all these cables, which is like, you know, completely unrealistic, but for this purpose it's actually working, so I like it. All right, well, thanks for watching, guys. Hope you enjoyed the vid. Give us a like and sub if you did, and if you want me to critique your work on my channel, just give me a heads up, send me some message to my email or just message me on Facebook. I'm under the same name. And I really enjoy doing this, and also there's a cool thing about it that we all learn, including me. Just seeing new things, and everyone does things differently, so it's always beneficial to look at other people's work, especially when you can, look under the hood and see how it was done, and what makes it tick. It's actually pretty awesome. So this is a very simple setup, but very striking, and you can see that with very little you can do a lot, right? So there's a lot of geo, but what I'm saying is like just a one piece of corridor, just few cables, probably done with Cablerator, because this add-on is fantastic. And if you would like to learn more about Cablerator, have a look at my YouTube channel. I got a video on this one, and also links to all these add-ons like Cablerator, and of course Hardups and Boxcutter, because this was certainly done with Boxcutter. No one's gonna be doing here vanilla cuts like this, because you would spend 7 years doing this shit, right? So this is probably done with a custom cutter, I would assume. So I got videos on custom cutters as well if you guys want to see this, but it's a very simple idea, but it looks very complicated and actually works. There's only one thing I'm not sure about. These two bits, yeah, they mirrored. So what I think you've done is you created the basic corridor, which was perfectly mirrored, because you can see, bits are mirrored, and then you started to slice it away with Boxcutter, and the slices were actually not mirrored, but these bits are mirrored, right? So I think the whole situation, the whole corridor was very simple structure, hexagonal structure with one path on the top, and everything was mirrored except the cuts. So yeah, it's just interesting idea. All right, well, that's it from me, guys. Thanks for sending your work, Andrew. Awesome stuff, and keep up the good work. Thanks for watching, and I catch you next video.